80% of the issues we're dealing with are due to trapped emotions. This has probably happened to you where you get very angry and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm not angry anymore. Or you get really sad and you're like, I can't, my faucets are dry. Like I can't cry anymore. So the question is, where is that time clock that tells you stop crying? And really, it's better to picture this ball of energy leaving your stratosphere of your skin. And once it officially leaves, you're quote unquote over it, or you finish the cycle of the emotion. But sometimes it's so heavy that it doesn't process properly and it gets stuck in the body. And that's when it starts causing all types of problems.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Sovereign Self Show, where you learn your body, your emotions, your energy are not in the way. They're actually leading the way to your own sovereignty, being that co-creator of your life. And I'm your host, Lauren Chalantani, and today we're talking with the wonderful, powerful, magical Emanuel Zavallos, and he is a renowned holistic practitioner, speaker, founder of Compass Healing Center, specializing in emotional and body code healing, energy work, and personal transformation. With over 9 years of experience, he has helped thousands of clients worldwide unblock their true potential by releasing trapped emotions and addressing complex health issues, as well as mental health imbalances through the mastery of emotion code and body code modalities. He is also the co-founder of Heal, Have Empathy and Love platform. Emanuel offers innovative group healing sessions and fosters a thriving community for holistic practitioners and wellness enthusiasts. His unique approach blends energy healing, subconscious reprogramming, and epigenetics to support individuals overcoming mental health challenges, relationship blocks, and physical ailments. Emanuel is passionate about empowering people to transform their lives, break free from emotional limitations, and embrace holistic wellness. Welcome, Emanuel, to the show. I'm so excited to have you. This episode is sponsored by Golden Rule Mushroom Company. Their products and medicines have made such a huge difference in supporting my nervous system and helping me feel more balanced and grounded. They even have a quiz to help you find your perfect microdosing journey. Make sure to use code Lauren10, that's LOREN10, at goldenrulemushrooms.com for 10% off your first purchase.
I'm so grateful to be here, Lauren. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
You're so welcome. I know we're just kind of trusting whatever needs to come through today to come through. We had so many really cool suggestions on where we wanted to go with this conversation, but just very briefly, how did you get into doing this work? I know now you have multiple passions, and giving back, and you've been working with your wife, which is a beautiful manifestation in and of itself. What was it? Was there something that sparked you in your life, or was this beautiful unfolding journey to your sovereignty and to doing the work that you do today?
That's a great question. So the first thing is there's a really great song. I'm trying to remember the artist of it, but she said something about there's beauty in the breakdown, and I think it's Imogen Heap. And anyway, there is beauty in the breakdown back in 2015. And whenever I try to remember this Napoleon Hill quote where he says that in every adversity there's an equal or greater benefit. And around that time, my marriage was upside down. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I had financial issues. I wasn't as present as I could be with my kids. So I was on the dark side of the moon. Like I know what Pink Floyd was talking about. Like I was definitely on the dark side of the moon. And I was just trying to get to the light side. And I've just always been used to people telling me, get a new book. You know, there's a book waiting for you, or there's a seminar waiting for you. It's like the typical routinely thing that sometimes lead us to even a higher dead end, if you will. And so I was just curious to see if there was something else. So I was trying to bring a friend into a skincare company. This is kind of funny. And I was trying to bring him into my team when he said, hey, I have to go do a meet with an emotion code client. And I was like, an emotion code what? And he's like, oh, I'll have to tell you about it later. But anyway, I have to go. And I remember just automatically going to Amazon and seeing if there's anything on the emotion code. I got the book. And what was interesting was that I had this thing called the heart wall, which I'll talk about later on. So I must have picked up the book 5 or 6 times. I would pick it up and drop it, pick it up and drop it. The reason why is because I felt numb inside my heart wall. And I couldn't, even if the author would come to my room and say, one day you'll be one of the most renowned practitioners, I probably would have told him to leave my room. And I don't know what you're doing here. You're intruding in my house. And that's because I had this heart wall. And long story short is I went on a journey to see if I can help others with the things that I've dealt with in my life. So I'm actually grateful for all the bullying that I've received or all the hardships because it made me more empathic for people that are going through this stuff.
Yeah, I literally was just on a phone call with my 2 best friends. We kinda talk about all the spiritual it's like we could have our own podcast, really. Um, and talking about, yeah, challenges in life. We're here there's always gonna be challenges. It's who we are going to be through those challenges, and sometimes there's those dark nights of the soul, some people will call it, through your awakening journey. And also, things like different energetic blocks, as if I picked up on with the what you said with the heart wall that are really guiding us, showing us, "Oh, what's happening here," but in the moment, we might not realize it. So I would love to hear how did you unlock your own heart wall? But also, could you give us kind of a understanding of those heart walls? I think didn't you say there are 8 different blocks created from heart walls as well?
Yeah, it's kind of it's like a big gorilla in the room that needs addressing as quickly as possible. But to go kind of a little bit backwards too, I would say one of the things Einstein said is that he loves like learning, but he says that like as long as education doesn't get in the way. And I feel like in our society, we're not educated to know about our emotional body. And this is to the detriment of the high divorce rate, physical issues we're dealing with. And it's really saddens me that's like, I think by third or fourth grade, we should already be learning that the emotions that we produce it matters and how it's not about what happens to you, but what happens to yourself and how you react to it. I always tell people that the bullying isn't the worst part. It's how we bully ourselves behind closed doors after we get bullied that causes the most stress in our body. But basically, Dr. Brad talks about how well, for the most part of my life, I always thought that emotions came from our brain, so just emotions coming from that area. But Dr. Brad clarifies that it's really our organs and glands that produce our emotions. So, for example, liver produces anger, bitterness, guilt, hatred, resentment. So, if you know someone who drinks too much alcohol or drinks too much caffeine, if you notice they have a tendency to feel what emotions? Anger, bitterness, hatred, resentment. And they can go from 1 to 100, or some people say that phrase. And the body's so intelligent. You can use muscle testing. And if you can't see me on video, I'm pushing down on my wrist to ask certain questions. Some people have already, maybe you know of this, applied kinesiology or muscle testing. And by using magnets on what they call the governing meridian, which in Chinese holistic culture, it's like a freeway of energy that goes from the upper lip all the way to the back of your spine. And you use just a magnet somewhere in that meridian and you can actually remove these emotions and they're the size of a tennis ball to a cantaloupe. One of my greatest examples that is also used in the book is Dana Reeve. So are you familiar with Dana Reeve, or am I outdating myself now?
I am not familiar.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm 43 years young. I'll take it. I could take the punch. So Dana Reeve is the wife of Christopher Reeve, and Christopher Reeve is the original, like one of the original Superman. Now, again, this is a very big controversy. I still think he's the best Superman, but that's up for another debate. But anyway, he was someone who's very athletic, never smoked, just a very active man, and she married him while he was in this active actor state. Unfortunately, he became paraplegic due to a horse accident. And if you notice, Dana Reeve basically was diagnosed with lung cancer very soon after he became paraplegic. And the question is that Western medicine does not, and I repeat, does not answer why Dana Reeve had lung cancer. There was no lung cancer in her family. She never smoked. So her family didn't smoke. And it made no sense. But in the Eastern side, in understanding trapped emotions, lungs produce the emotion of grief. So we can only imagine how much she grieved over this husband who wasn't the person she married. All of a sudden, is like stuck in bed all day, barely breathing. And so as she produced these trapped emotions around the lungs, she produced a disease, which then produced cancer. And so it makes a lot more sense in the energetic world than the Western medicine, who they're like, we have no idea why she died of lung cancer. And so we have to realize that 80% of the issues we're dealing with are due to trapped emotions. And so we produce these all the time. Lauren, this has probably happened to you where you get very angry and then all of a sudden there's like almost like a clock kind of ended and you're like, I'm not angry anymore. Or you get really sad and you're like, I can't, my faucets are dry. Like I can't cry anymore. So the question is, where is that time clock that tells you stop crying? And really, it's better to picture this ball of energy leaving your stratosphere of your skin. And once it officially leaves, you're quote unquote over it, or you finish the cycle of the emotion. But sometimes it's so heavy that it doesn't process properly and it gets stuck in the body. And that's when it starts causing all types of problems. Now, at the heart wall, every time your heart feels heavy, and this has probably happened to you, Lauren, like your heart feels heavy or it feels like it's going to break. We've all felt that. Maybe someone passed away or you broke up with a boyfriend or you having contention issues with your husband and you're like, oh, my heart feels like it's going to break. Your body places a trapped emotion to cover your heart. So it prevents you from having broken heart syndrome, which is where your heart actually will collapse and due to the tendons inside the heart stretching. So we're being saved by our body all the time. It has almost a defense mechanism against heartbreak. The problem is that we're stacking these walls, these trapped emotions of fear, rejection, sadness, discouragement. And I don't know if you want me to go into the 8 symptoms, but I'd be glad to go into it if you want.
Please do, please do.
Okay, so here are the 8 symptoms, and if you can relate to any of these, there's a high likelihood that you may have this thing called the heart wall. And number one is low energy, low immune system. They've done more research now that the brain is not only the one that communicates to different parts of your body, like your organs and glands, but also your heart is also communicating to different parts. So people that you typically have a lot of health issues usually have a huge heart wall because their heart's not, you're not getting the full functionality of your body because your brain and heart are not the same coherence. The second one is lack of clarity of your mission in life, or you feel like there's just something else, or perhaps even you don't have enough flow in your work. You love your work, but that's kind of a mental confirmation, but your heart hasn't confirmed it yet. So you're kind of consciously enjoying yourself, but not subconsciously. The third one is people, and this may happen in your relationship right now. You feel people's love and you feel it. I'm sorry, you see it, but you don't really feel it like you used to. Imagine the way you used to feel love when you were 4 years old, 5 years old. It was very different than now when you're older. It's just you feel numb sometimes, desensitized. It's like receiving love blanks from someone. The fourth one is you send mixed messages to people. So picture like a beautiful butterfly. This is a terrible interpretation of a butterfly. Hopefully you don't see this on video, but this beautiful message comes from your heart, but it has to go through fear, rejection, sadness, resentment, all the walls that you created to protect yourself. By the time it comes to someone else, it's this weird looking bat that affects someone. So how many times have you talked to a friend or a partner and they scramble your words and they get offended by what you say and you're like, I didn't mean that. Why are you getting upset? And in your mind you're thinking, my husband's having a bad day. This is why he's talking to me this way, right? But I'm telling you right now, it's your heart's having a bad day and it's sending mixed messages to people. The fifth one is it may also block your financial abundance. If you feel like, why am I stuck with my finances? There is nothing, and I'll repeat this again because I work with 90% women. There's nothing more attractive from a woman that knows their mission, mind, and heart, that knows how to receive love perfectly and knows how to give love perfectly. If you combine those three, people will come from all over the world to basically assist you with financial abundance. And then 6, 7, 8 is depression, anxiety, and triggers. So if you have any of those symptoms too, they can lower by huge notches by removing it. Because once you remove your heart wall, you feel connected to people. So it's hard to feel depressed when you feel connected. It's hard to feel anxious when you can feel people's love when they're talking to you. You can't get triggered when you feel your kids' love as much. But if you're numb, though, you can see how it's easy to feel depression, anxiety, and triggers.
Thank you for explaining all of those. I think we all can relate or at some point to at
Yeah.
least one or all of those. So when you say heart wall, are you saying obviously emotional, energetic, but is there like an actual physical manifestation at all that presents? I mean, you said it prevents a broken heart syndrome, but is there any like physical aspects that people might, with the heaviness? I know I've experienced during high stress, the tension,
Builds up.
the tightness in your heart. Yeah.
Yeah, so most people who have heart walls have shoulder and neck pain. So that's one symptom that you can have just automatically. If you have that consistently, shoulder neck pain, you probably have a heart wall. Another thing that's interesting too is that you can actually, these energies are so real. I went to an event once, and I was watching Brad Nelson, who's the founder of it, who lives actually 15 minutes away from me, which is kind of crazy. We become good friends. But anyway, what you do is you would find a trapped emotion, you would be muscle testing, and you could ask the body in which quadrant is this trapped emotion placed in? Is it the upper left or the upper right? And so let's say it was like the upper left. Okay. So what he would do on stage, this is really fascinating, is again, they're the size of a tennis ball or cantaloupe. So he'd push on someone's arm and say, I need you to hold on to me pushing down, do some resistance. Okay. He's not going to push super hard, just push just enough just to show resistance. And what he would do is he would place his hand closer and closer to someone's body until it touched the trapped emotion that's sticking out that it was trying to release. And by the time it hits it, the arm goes weak, just goes boom, just goes down. And so then he's like, okay, so this is around how far it is outside the bubbling outside the body, you know? And then, and also too, you can confirm when you release it, it says, do you have this trapped emotion anymore? And the arm goes down to confirm, no, I don't have that one anymore. And so it's as real as it gets. I mean, and he says it feels like someone blowing on your hand like a cold wind. That's how it typically a trapped emotion feels when it's kind of surfacing in the body. For those of you who have amazing women who are listening to this amazing podcast with Lauren, you have probably been in some form of counseling, or maybe you. And I always tell people, ironically, that the most harshest comments or the biggest war battle that happens is usually post meeting with a therapist, because what's happening is you're bringing all these trapped emotions to the surface with your husband or your partner, and then you're leaving them into the car to go battle it out. And I really believe the future is you meet with a therapist and then you go to a different room. A body code practitioner works on both of you to see what emotions are now on the surface. Then you can go home in a peaceful ride. But unfortunately, we're still in beta when it comes to, like, hey, let's just have them duke it out with all the triggers we just woke up. And I just feel like that's so old school. We shouldn't leave couples like that. And so that's why therapy sometimes doesn't work the way we thought it would.
Yes, 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 yes. And I'm thinking, my gosh, that is our relationship. My partner has dealt with shoulder and neck issues. That's how he really got into the spiritual awakening and journey. That's what led him. Had to quit his job, was searching for the holistic health, you know, 10, 15 years ago. And even today, when he triggers and blocked emotions come up, those physical sensations will come up. And we've realized the container of our relationship for both of us has been, right, that teacher of opening our hearts up equally. And we trigger each other to be able to, in a beautiful way, release those emotions and be able to express, to give, and to receive the love. So I mean, you mentioned, just a side note at the beginning, your relationship with your wife, your marriage, when all this came up was kind of, wasn't the best, I guess, at times. How did you start to use this work? Because it's a beautiful transition. We're just literally talking about the heart and to integrating that into your relationship.
Okay, so just to make some clarification here. So
Yes.
with the back in 2015, that was my ex-wife. Okay,
Okay. Perfect.
and so her and I, there is kind of a red flag that people should be aware of, especially your listeners, is that hopefully you have a partner who's open to heal with you. This is so key. If this doesn't happen, here's a little problem that happens, is that there is such thing as a woman outgrowing a man. And the reason is because the man, here's the mistake that we make, is that by standing still, we can stand still and nothing will happen. But the reality is there's no such thing as standing still. We are either in the decline or we're in the increase. So when they choose not to heal, they are in the decline because life is happening to them. They're still going to work. They're picking up trapped emotions. They're dealing with the kids, creating new trapped emotions. Unfortunately, they watch a basketball game and a little too passionate about the basketball. They're creating anger and resentment emotions towards the other team. So they're coming back with new baggage all the time. There is no such thing as a standstill on an emotional level. And so I love working with men. I had a 6-hour meditation once that was very sacred to me, and I was able to kind of know about my calling in this life. And I love working with men because I feel like it's men that have brought us to the demise of this earth. I think what we're seeing is basically men taking over and us unfortunately praising the narcissistic man. And this statue is not made of gold, and we're starting to realize it very quickly. And the divine feminine in men and women need to rise stronger than ever right now. And the only way we can do that is not just say women take over, but men also have to rise. And we have to come back to our true selves, which is that we don't praise the narcissistic man anymore. We are looking for men who have empathy and have compassion. I know maybe some of your followers are Christian, but I'm Christian myself. But my favorite verse in the Bible is "He wept." And it's just two words. But why is that so powerful? Is because someone as powerful as Jesus was there. He already knew in a few minutes he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. But when he came to Mary and the women, he took the time to cry with them. Then he did the miracle. So how many of us are just so quick to fix it, so quick to let's just fix it. Let's not talk about it. Let's just fix it. But we're not taking in that present time to mourn with those who are mourning. See, that's the real man. But we're told not to mourn with those who mourn. We're told to suck it up. You see? So I think like in order to make that shift, and I know a lot of your listeners are women, is that women sometimes have to go on a journey by themselves, and when the man sees the change, they will come along. Or I tell women all the time, let me work on your kids. Because watch this, kids are the most unbiased third party that and once they start seeing shifts, the man can't say, oh no, this kid's just trying to, show off and let me do therapy with that Emanuel guy. That kid has non-biasness. And what the beautiful part is under 17 and under, the kid doesn't even have to know that he's being worked on. I just get permission from the mom and I work with the child. And the child starts getting better grades, higher self esteem, lower food aversion, more interested in spirituality. And the dad will be like, there is something in those woods over there because my son is very different. And guess what? That unlocks the key for the father because he's like, I want to be a better father to lead this man, this little kid who's changing before me.
That's so beautiful. I know for me, yeah, going on that journey alone. I think so many of the listeners here, as an empath, very intuitive person, have gone through or are in the process of going through the healing journey of being in some type of a not a good, healthy relationship where that person is here to be a huge teacher for us to remember who we are. And a lot of that means going on your own journey, and
Yeah.
remembering your own power and being able to attract those type of partnerships, those relationships, those men who are open to the growth, who are in their divine masculine and divine feminine. And for me, it was a huge awakening being in this relationship as I wasn't used to that. I was like, oh, wow, the tables have turned in a lot of ways for me, where this very focused divine masculine man, nothing's going to stand in his way. And I'm like, wow, it was like, I was a beautiful opportunity every time I was like, partner, please change. I was like, it was my opportunity to do that as well. So in terms of women who are in a healthy relationship with a healthy partner, obviously, what and who is open to doing this kind of work, what are some things that, individually, obviously it starts with the wholeness of self, but also as a partner, as a collective, they can do to start to work, melt down, process those heart walls in order to strengthen their bond and their connection?
That's a great question. So full of great questions. Of course, when you have a name like Celentani, you just know the right question. So the first thing I would do is this: is there's what I call like the lid session. So picture like a pipe of water that's kind of going down, but sometimes there's like a lid, like it kind of stops the flow of water. And the biggest lid for all of us is the word safety. So your subconscious is all about, like, it works countless hours for you to just be safe. So one of the things that if I were to talk with a woman who's like, I want to enhance my relationship, one of the things that the first things I would do preliminary would be, okay, I'm going to kind of go a little bit even more back. I would say I would give her a shield. Okay. So, and I want to give everyone a shield right now. So if you're listening, I want to give a gift to all your women here. All you need to do is take your left or right hand, okay, and you have these fingertips that have energetic charge, okay, and you can just follow along with the words that I'm saying. But this will place a shield now. Because I have a little bit of OCD and perfectionism, is that I will, if I was working with someone in person, I would check if they have holes in their shield. But you will see how powerful this is starting in the next few seconds. How you feel afterwards when someone's negative around you, how it bounces off you a lot easier. Okay. So this is one of the first things is that those two words that you have in your podcast, I kind of use them all the time, but emotional sovereignty is key to ascension. And what you need to do is, so I'm gonna just take the fingertips of your hands, and you're kind of rubbing your hair back. Just say, "I'm now placing a shield, which will block all negative energies. It will only allow love and positive energies in. It's permanent, and it covers my whole entire body." Okay, so now if I were to ask whoever I'm working with, are you shielded? It would say yes, So you would, use other methods to say yes. Now, again, in the morning when you wake up, if you're someone who prays, you can just mention shield in your prayer and it works perfectly. Now, you have to activate it every morning. Otherwise, it's almost like a parachute that's closed. The second thing is, or you can say the word shields up. So sometimes with women, I'll say, go to your mirror and with a dry erase marker, just write shields up where you're washing your face. You won't miss it. You have to go, right? Get ready. So you'll see the shields up and then you go about your day. You will feel very different around someone when they're being negative because you have to stop absorbing stuff. And that's the sad part about the empath is that we need more empaths in the world, but they have to be. They have to be empowered. We can't. This army is the most powerful army, but we have to be shielded. So again, shields up or mention in your prayer. The second thing I would do is remove a cord between you and your partner. You might say, why would I want to remove a cord? So if you have a cord with someone new and you're happy in this relationship, you probably have a heart to heart cord. But as time goes on, it goes to the gut area, which is where most of the trapped emotions are created. And you may have cords with ex partners. So if I work with someone new, if I find trauma in your past, I'll probably be like, who is this guy? He's like, oh, his name's Alex. You don't see him anymore, right? No, we definitely need to remove this cord. Why? Because when you're next to your partner, he can sense his subconscious will read your files and go, why is she still corded to four other guys? And so it seems like you're still connected with them, but you're not. You're over them. But technically, you could feel their emotions from Derek that you knew back at 16, and you feel off a day, and you're like, I don't know why I feel off today. I feel very anxious or I feel overwhelmed, but there's no reason to be overwhelmed. You're probably courted to someone and you have nothing to do with them anymore. So you can see how that's not helping your current relationship. But also, I say with your current relationship, remove those cords because you don't want to feel your partner, he's at work feeling very overwhelmed. You don't want to feel his energies while you're just trying to take care of the kids. So it's good to not have any cord with your partner too. And then I would do a session called Do You Feel Safe with a Loving Relationship? And let's say I muscle tested you, Lauren. If your arm goes weak, it means there's certain traumas in your past and with your parents. Your parents are also the first symbol of what love should be. And you labeled it as love. And then whatever trauma came out of it made you feel slowly not feeling safe with a loving relationship. So your arms are kind of closed, even though you're in a relationship. So my goal is to kind of open up your arms so you can embrace again. So that's kind of like the first preliminary stuff. Then I would work with the heart wall. Then if you want to go super deep, like you want to be like, okay, this is like, I want to go on a year serious run, then I would do this thing called the Relationship Resonance Program. And what that is that was a program with 12 pages. It has negative core belief, positive love core beliefs, past traumas. And my assistant basically does an hour interview about it's not the most comfortable interview, but it is a very in detail interview. For example, one of the questions is like, what would your exes tell me about you that's like their biggest hangup that you don't are not willing to admit? See, that's a tough question. You don't want to answer that. But that would give me more ways to go energetically. And so it's an hour interview and then now I have 12 pages that I can access and your body tells me which pages to work on. So that's like the deepest end of relationships.
Yeah, I would say so. That sounds very, very deep. And I think in listeners, they think, yeah, shields up. What an easy tool to do maintenance. I don't want to say maintenance wise because it's a very powerful thing. But as an empath, you're right. It doesn't matter, and that's what I'm learning in this relationship. Yes, it's a healthy relationship, but those old, I would call them codependent energies sometimes, or cords, those patterns, I've had to be like, "Oh, those are still here. Okay." Having to, do the emotional, energetic work around those with not absorbing everything, and really displacing the energy. And I know I'm kinda not really left field with this, but I got really caught up a lot of my journey, and it's a beautiful thing, but a past life stuff. But also, I know you talk a lot about entities and curses, and sometimes I think our power is right now, right? And we don't remember how sovereign we are in this moment right now as an empath. And I think that's really what, if you're listening to this podcast, I know you chose to come here this lifetime to remember to be a part of this shift of how divine and a creator being each and every single one of us are. So I would love to hear, how do we how do we how do we balance that with all the shifts going on? We have past lives and also the other energies and curses and entities at play that sometimes we forget about the sovereignty aspect of it all.
That's just another great question. I just want to make sure I answer this correctly. So there's so many ways this can go, this conversation, but to keep it very, very simple is first of all, kudos to you for listening to this podcast because you've already separated yourself from as more people are listening to music that's not increasing their frequency. You're listening to something that's adding value to your soul. So that already separates you from the masses. So that's one. And because again, I think it was muscle tested that a lot of us are very spiritually anorexic, and so like 56 or I think it was like 60 something percent of the world that our spirits are starving for spiritual food, and that's why Buddha said, that the beginning of misery is basically loving things that can't love you back. We are seeking for things that don't give us love back, trying to fill up the spiritual starvation that we're dealing with. So prayer is really important. Reading spiritual books is really important. Listening to podcasts is very important. It's literally like, again, think about if you're in the military, how trained they get and what they do and all these different things. There's a sort of regimen that they have. And I try to tell people that like we were in a war in heaven. You've already passed the first test. You're here. If you didn't pass, you wouldn't be here, but there was this one third of children that followed another path that are also here. And they hate families. They hate relationships. They're miserable. They wish, and a lot of them have addiction issues because they wish they could go back to an addictive body. They can't. So they're looking for hosts. So we have all these things. And so I think recognizing that, look, we're in spiritual warfare and I choose to be one of the powerful spirits. Like you have to make the decision today. You can't be lollygagging here. This is because they say if you treat things casually, you become a casualty. And that's what's happening right now in society is that a lot of people are treating like, oh, I'm just going to just go to my job and just, go to work and just, come home and just watch Netflix all day. It's like, you don't realize that there's so much power within you and everyone's trying to dumb you down and trying to lower it. But look how far you've gone with emotional baggage. I always tell my clients all the time with your partner, and this is how I've heard this metaphor say, you attracted someone who had a very similar sized luggage to you. And you guys look at each other and go, hey, you have the same luggage, kind of like very same size. Oh, I do too. Cool. It's like we should get married. That's kind of how people come together. And so that's why you might say, really struggling with my partner right now. It's like, well, yeah, because like attracts like. And you have more baggage in your childhood that you're willing to recognize and attracted a male who also has baggage maybe in his teenhood, but it's kind of the same thing. And so the question is, do you want to grow with him or do you want to grow out of him? That I don't really tell my clients what to do with their relationships, but the choice is yours. And so, but it is like a consistent process. Like, what is your daily regimen of spiritual growth? Do you have a consistent one? If you have one for exercise and you have one for going to work, if your work clocking in is more important than your spiritual clocking in, that's where I would start right there. And I think we have to put the spirit to be full. And that way you can add more value to others.
Yes, I think, really, on this waking journey, and I see myself and so many women who want to give back, want to help other people. We want to get out of the monotony, the mundane, like you were saying, the 9 to 5 world, and then we come into this world of helping people, building a business, being in a relationship, being a mom, all those things, but you're just shifting from the 9 to 5 to doing it your own
Oh,
business,
yeah.
yeah, and it's really about taking yourself out of it. It's like for me, I was just talking to my friends about this too. It's like whatever we want to manifest this lifetime, it's all guiding us to our deeper connection with God. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what you want to change, what you want to heal. The answer always is to connect to God, to connect that deeper sense of divine that is you. That is you. And I think whatever you're going through right now, listening to this show, or whatever you're trying to change, that spiritual practice, that's the spiritual warrior. The sovereignty is like, do you love yourself enough to sit down every day and meditate or whatever is part of your spiritual practice, prayer? And is
Yeah,
it
no,
actually working?
exactly. And I think, one of the things that I'm trying to be consistent with is I meet with clients about once a week, but I've even created this membership program where like on Sundays they get a healing, a very spiritual, deep healing that I receive revelation from above that never charge for this. Like this is something that whoever's in heal, them and their family will get a healing. And it's kind of my clients are used to coming with like 5 symptoms to work on, whether it's physical, emotional, relationship. But on Sundays, I say we need to kind of give that up and just kind of raise your hands up and say, whatever creator you see that is blocking me right now, you know me more than anyone else. Can you release those things this Sunday so I can have more spiritual peace and be stronger and be more the version that you see me as? And that's something that I always tell people, I'm like, our creator always sees us as our potential. Even though you may look down upon yourself, you feel like you're too far gone, there's no hope, it's too late, I'm too old, I can't find my mission. It's like I'm telling you that the creator doesn't see you that way. The creator sees you as your fullest potential at all times. And we need to kind of borrow that vision. The way we borrow it is to take our spiritual practices seriously, because that's what the creator would do if the creator was down here with us. But one of the things, actually, again, a good place to start would be the heart wall clearing. Why? Because imagine a world where no one has a heart wall. People can feel each other's love. Not to scare anybody off here, but my vision that I see in the future is that we create more what I call Zion homes. And Zion homes means like one heart, one mind, but like homes, like all over it, and to create its own society where everyone's just one heart, one mind. So beautiful that home that if the creator were to come down again, he wouldn't be doing missionary work or he wouldn't be doing healing. He would just find a place to rest because it's like the home is already being built the right way. And that's possible, but we have to get rid of our baggage. We brought too much into the home. That's kind of where, like I said, whether it's me, whether it's another practitioner, just get on a consistent level of healing where you're moving forward every single week and you're becoming a better version of you. In a year, you won't even recognize yourself in a good way.
A very good way. Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you for a very long time, but I think that was a beautiful mic drop moment to kind of close down the show. Was there anything else on your heart that you want to share with the listeners today before we say goodbye?
Sure. So, first of all, I'm so grateful, Lauren, for you having me on here. So, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for all that you do for your community. It's a beautiful thing that you're adding to people's spirit all the time. So, I honor your calling and just grateful for you. And I do want to offer a free gift to everyone if they like gifts. If you don't like gifts, then there's probably a trapped emotion that's causing that. But there's a session for that. You're worthy of gifts, and I want to see how much you believe that. But basically, so you can go to my free platform. It's called Heal. So it's haveempathyandlove.com. It's so easy to remember that. Haveempathyandlove.com. And basically, my wife and I are attempting to portray the divine masculine and feminine at its highest level, like that. We're trying to become that. And we're going to come out with a program really soon, like kind of like a power couple program together, which my wife is very excited about because she has her frequency machine. I do group healing, I do regression hypnotherapy. So it's going to be the deepest dive any couple has ever gone through. But there you can get a free healing every Sunday, which is kind of cool for your whole family. This is what I wish for everyone here is on Sundays, you'll get your free healing just for being a part of the platform. And if anyone's ever not done a body code session, I'm willing to offer a complimentary session to help you out. And I'll leave with this is that there's a really great quote that I love. Again, whether you're a Buddhist, you can fit Buddha in there if you want. I respect everybody's faith or religion, um, but there's this really great quote. It says, Jesus Christ never had an identity crisis. He knew who he was before, he knew who he was when he came here, and he knew where he was going. And when you're that liberated, then you can serve. And so I love that quote because I feel like as you do your healing, you will learn more about your true identity. And it's only then will you know how to serve, and serviceness brings happiness and joy that you've never experienced before. So that's my message for you guys.
Beautiful. Thank you. And I keep hearing that message through different teachers this week. I just listened to an Abraham Hicks channeling yesterday, and that was the message was like, in order to serve, you have to be the strength of sense of self and purpose. You have to be so fortified in who you are in order to serve. Other people say don't serve from an empty cup. Same principle there as well. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for coming on and sharing your heart and your wisdom and your journey with each and every one of us. And if you guys thought of a loved one during this episode, they popped into your mind for a reason, please share this episode with them. You never know what is going to unspark and unfold in their journey. And if you haven't already, please hit subscribe and consider writing that review. That really helps send this podcast out to the platforms at a huge, beautiful, greater level so we can continue to create this new earth, that Zion like beautiful space that's already here. Really, we're just keep building, keep focused, keep fortifying that. But thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Manuel, for coming on. And until next time. And that's a wrap for today's episode. I wanted to remind you guys that this show is sponsored by Golden Rule Mushroom Company. And by using code Lauren10, that's LOREN10, you can get 10% off and start exploring how these functional microdosing mushrooms could support your health, mind, body, and soul. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time.